I stopped going to the window. That is the part I keep coming back to. Not what he did, not what it cost me, the part where I just stopped going. I had stood at that window every morning for 16 years, coffee in my hand, the water out there doing what it always does, enormous and cold and completely unbothered. 15 minutes before the day started, just me and the light and whatever the water was doing that morning. In the deep cold months, there would be this vapor lifting off the surface, little curls of it, slow, like the whole thing was breathing. I would watch that and not think about anything, not one thing. 15 minutes. Mine. The name is Evelyn, 78 years old. People hear that and they get a look, like the number explains something, like I must be winding down now or waiting for something to happen to me. I am not waiting for anything. I spent 34 years walking through other people's homes, assessing them, looking at foundations, load-bearing walls, what holds and what does not, calculating what a thing was worth down to the dollar. I did that work for 34 years, and I still let a man walk into my house with 2 suitcases and a smile and nearly take it from me. I had been alone for 16 years before Raymond showed up, 16 years after the marriage ended. My husband, I will say what he was, a man who stopped working at 52 and expected the household to keep running on its own while he sat in his recliner and called it retirement. I kept the whole thing going. The bills, the repairs, every tax, every payment, every phone call to every person who needed to be called. For years I did that. And then I stopped. I left, kept the house, spent 8 more years paying off what remained of the mortgage by myself. Every month, every dollar, mine. That house was proof of something I never needed to say out loud, that I had stood on my own, that I could. 16 years after the marriage, I dated. I was not a hermit, but nobody had a key, nobody had a drawer, nobody came through that door and stayed past morning. Then Raymond was a retired electrician, calm man, patient, handy in the way that actually matters. He could look at something broken and know what it needed. For 8 months, he was the most attentive man I had been with since the early years of my marriage. He remembered exactly how I took my coffee after one date. I noticed that. It worked on me. I am not proud of that, but it is true. Then his lease came up. Just until I find a new place, he said. He was standing on my porch, 2 suitcases and a duffel bag, smiling, casual, like it was nothing, like it was temporary. He never looked for a new place, not once, not a single phone call that I ever heard. The first morning, I had been up since 6, standing at the kitchen window, coffee in hand. The water was doing its winter thing. I was inside the quiet, the way you are inside a warm bath, not thinking, just held by it. Raymond came downstairs at 20 to 7. He flipped on the overhead light. I kept it off in the mornings. I liked the gray. The way the room looked before the day decided what it was going to be. Then he turned on the television in the next room. The wall between the kitchen and the living room is not thick. The sound came through like a fist. Sports recap. A man yelling about scores at 20 to 7 in the morning. Raymond sat down at the table. He said, "What is for breakfast?" And my 15 minutes were over. Not just that morning, every morning, for 3 years. Week 2. I want to tell you what happened in week 2 because it happened so quietly I did not recognize it until I was already inside it. Tuesday evening. Raymond sat down at my kitchen table. He sat down and he waited. Did not open the refrigerator. Did not ask what we were having. Did not ask if he could help or where I kept the cutting board. He just sat, the way a man sits at a restaurant, settled, patient, certain that something is coming. And I, Evelyn, who had not cooked for a man in 16 years, who had left a marriage specifically because she was tired of being unpaid staff, I walked to the stove. I started making dinner for two. Nobody asked me to do that. I need to say that again, because I have thought about it for years, and I still do not fully understand it. Nobody asked. Raymond did not say a word. He did not demand. He just sat, and something in me, something I was certain I had killed years ago, stood up and walked to the stove and started working. I do not know what moved my feet. I have never been able to explain it. By month 2, his shirts were in my washer. I do not remember deciding that was going to happen. One day they were there. By month 3, his dishes were in the sink and I was washing them because the alternative was a dirty kitchen, and I cannot live in a dirty kitchen. His towels on the bathroom floor, his things spread across the bathroom counter, his shoes by the door, not where I kept shoes, his spot, claimed by nothing more than showing up there every day until it became his coffee cup, never washed, left in the sink every morning. I washed it every morning without thinking about it, the way you wash something that belongs to you. Raymond was not doing this on purpose. I want to be honest about that. He had lived alone for years before me. He had habits. He moved into a warm house and he relaxed into it. He did not think, how do I make Evelyn my housekeeper? He just stopped shivering. That is all it was. He found a warm room and he stopped shivering. And I turned up the heat without being asked, because that is what women my generation were built to do. The blueprint does not disappear just because you tear up the house. It is in the foundation under everything you think you have fixed about yourself. I had left one man because he stopped contributing, and then I let another man in and I contributed for both of us. Same pattern, different man, same stove. 6 months in, deep winter, I walked out to the mailbox in the morning. I went through what was there, and I found an envelope from Raymond's bank, his statement addressed to my house. I stood at the mailbox, whined off the water, cold enough that you feel it in your back teeth. My hands were not shaking from the cold. I went through the rest. His prescription notice, a magazine subscription, his auto insurance renewal, all of them addressed to my house, my address, my mailbox. He had changed his mailing address without asking me, without telling me. I found out from a piece of mail on a cold morning standing at the end of my own driveway. I stood there for a while. The wind was going. I just stood there. Then I went inside and I put the mail on the counter and I made his coffee and I put it on the table and I did not say anything. I do not know why I did not say anything that morning. I have asked myself that many times. I stopped going to the window around then. Not all at once. Gradually. I would stand there and the television would come on in the next room and I would feel the quiet break and I would just leave, go somewhere else in the house, start doing something, anything. And then one morning I realized I had not stood at the window in weeks. Not because Raymond told me to stop. He never said a word about my mornings. I stopped because the morning was not mine anymore. And standing there with all that noise behind me felt worse than not standing there at all. If I could not have the real thing, I was not going to stand there holding an imitation of it. 16 years of building something that fit exactly around me, he had taken it apart in a week, and he did not know he was doing it. That is the part I keep coming back to. The occupation was invisible to the occupier. He thought he was just living there. He was. That was the whole problem. 2 years in, I said it plainly. We were standing in the kitchen, my kitchen, in my house, on a Tuesday evening after I had cooked his dinner and washed his plate and wiped his crumbs off my counter. I said, Raymond, this is not working. I need you to find your own place. He looked at me and he laughed. Not a cruel laugh, a surprised laugh. The laugh of a man who genuinely had not considered the possibility. Then his face changed. He said, I live here, Ev. 3 words. And the worst part was that he was right. I asked again a week later, a month later. Each time Raymond shook his head or changed the subject or went out to the garage, my garage, and found something to fix. He was never angry, never raised his voice, never threatened me. He was just staying, like a piece of furniture too large to fit back through the door. I went to see an attorney. What she told me, and I will spare you the details, is that Raymond was not a guest anymore. In the eyes of the law, he lived there. We would need to file formal proceedings, notice periods, court dates, response windows. Raymond was entitled to contest it, to request extensions, to argue that he had contributed to the household. Every step took weeks. Every delay was legal. Every delay meant another month of Raymond in my house. I want to tell you what 14 months feels like. 14 months of living with the man you have asked to leave. Every morning, Raymond coming downstairs at 20 to 7, the overhead light going on, the television, what is for breakfast? Me standing at the stove making 2 portions of something when I wanted to make 1. I would put his plate down. He would say thank you. He always said thank you. That was the part that made it strange. He was perfectly pleasant about the whole thing. He said thank you, and he ate his breakfast, and he watched his television, and he was completely at ease in my house. While I stood at the counter and drank my coffee and felt like a woman waiting for a bus that was not coming. Some mornings, I would let the coffee go cold, just standing there, not thinking about anything specific, just aware of him in the next room, the specific sound of his chair, the way he cleared his throat before he changed the channel. Small sounds, the kind of sounds that do not mean anything until they are in your house and they are not yours and they have been there for 2 years and you cannot make them stop. Evenings were their own thing. Dinner, his coffee cup in the sink, his jacket on my hook by the door. Some nights he would be in the living room watching something and I would want to read, and I would go to my bedroom to read because the living room was his by then in every practical sense. His chair, his channel, his volume, my living room, and I was reading in my bedroom like a guest who did not want to disturb anyone. One evening in month 10, I sat down at the kitchen table after he had gone to bed. Just sat there. The house was quiet, actually quiet, the real kind, not the kind with a man asleep upstairs. And I put my hands flat on the table, on the wood I had had for 30 years, and I just sat. And I thought, I am sitting in my own kitchen at 10 o'clock at night because this is the only hour that is mine. That is what 14 months felt like. Every time I walked past him in the hallway, my hallway in my house that I had paid for with 34 years of work. I felt like a visitor, like I was the one who did not belong there. Some mornings I would get up early. Before he came down, I would stand at the kitchen window, coffee in hand, and try to get 15 minutes back. I would stand there and I would hear him moving upstairs. His footsteps, the bathroom door, the specific sound of his feet on the stairs, and the quiet would break before he even walked into the room. You cannot unhear a person once you know they are there. 14 months, not a single morning that was entirely mine. Month 19 of Raymond being in my house, he had a small health episode. 2 days in the hospital. When he came home, he sat in the recliner, the one he had claimed on his first week, the one that had been my ex-husband's spot, and the symbolism of that is not lost on me. And he looked at me and said, "The doctor said I need to take it easy. You will keep track of the pills, right?" I managed his medications for 3 weeks, scheduled his follow-up appointments, adjusted what I was cooking. Less of this, more of that, which meant I was cooking even more carefully for a man I had already been cooking for without being asked. And one evening I stood at the bathroom mirror and I looked at myself, and I saw the next 10 years. I had a friend. I will call her Clara. I had not seen her in a while. Raymond in the house, everything getting heavier. I had stopped going much of anywhere. But I drove out to see her that spring. I knocked on her door, and the woman who answered it was not Clara. Same face, same eyes, but 40 pounds lighter, dark circles, so deep they looked like bruises, her hair not right, and the house behind her smelled like antiseptic, and under the antiseptic, something warm and human and wrong. Her man was in the living room. Hospital bed, oxygen equipment on one side, pill organizer on the other, television playing something he could not hear anymore because his hearing had gone. He had moved in 4 years earlier on 2 good legs and a sound heart. They had met at a community event. He was funny. He was kind. He brought her flowers from a garden he kept himself. They dated for a year, and then his lease ended. I know. The same sentence, the same suitcase, on the same porch. And Clara said yes because he was warm and the house was quiet, and she thought having someone to eat dinner with was worth whatever came with it. She did not know the cost. His lungs gave out first, then a fall, then another one, then a hospital bed that his insurance would not cover at someone else's address, so Clara paid for it, because what was she going to do? We sat on her back porch while he slept inside. She was holding a glass of water with both hands, not drinking it, just holding it, the way you hold something when your hands need a job or they will shake. She did not say anything for a while. I did not either. We had known each other long enough that the silence was not uncomfortable. It was just there. The water was out there too, different angle from mine. Same indifference. A bird went over, some ordinary bird doing some ordinary thing. Then she said, "He moved in healthy. He is still here." She looked at the glass in her hands. I am not his companion anymore. I am his nurse. That is all I have been for 4 years. I asked her when she had last left the house. Not for groceries, just left. Gone somewhere for herself. She thought about it. She actually had to think about it. She said October. I drove to see my sister. I was gone 4 hours. She paused. He called me twice. I could hear it in his voice when I got home, that he had been afraid the whole time I was gone. Not angry, just afraid. And after that, I stopped going far. She set the glass down on the porch railing. I used to walk every morning, she said. 2 miles. Rain or cold did not matter. I walked every morning for 15 years. She looked at her hands. I do not know when I stopped. I just realized one day I had not walked in months, and I could not remember deciding not to. That is the part that stayed with me on the drive home. Not the hospital bed, not the oxygen equipment, not even what she looked like. It was that she could not remember deciding to stop. She had stopped going to the window too. Whatever her window was, she had stopped, and she had not even noticed until it was years gone. She stopped seeing friends, could not leave long enough, stopped going to the things she used to go to, stopped walking, stopped reading, stopped doing every single thing that had made her Clara. Developed a heart condition. Her doctor connected directly to 4 years of physical exhaustion and chronic stress. Her heart nearly quit. He died peacefully in that hospital bed, in her living room, with Clara holding his hand. He was a good man. He did not deserve what happened to his body, but Clara did not deserve what happened to hers. I drove home that day, and I pulled over on the highway, and I sat in the car because I had just read the last page of a book I was on chapter 2 of. Raymond's health episode was chapter 2. Clara's living room was the last page. I called the attorney the next morning, not because of the television, not because of the mail at my address, not because of the dinner I made when nobody asked me to, because I had seen what the next 10 years looked like, and I chose myself. Raymond left on a Thursday morning. The attorney's office called at 9, said the final order had been processed. Raymond had until the following morning to vacate. He was gone by noon. 2 suitcases. The duffel bag. Same ones he had arrived with 3 years before. He did not say goodbye, did not look back. He loaded his truck and he drove out of the driveway, and I stood at the living room window and I watched him go. And I felt the house exhale. Not a figure of speech. Something actually shifted. The air was different. The rooms were the right size again. I stood there for a while after the truck was gone, just standing at the window. Then I walked through the house, not for any reason. I just walked through it. Kitchen, living room, the hallway, my bedroom. I was not looking for anything. I think I just needed to feel that each room was mine again, that I could walk into it without calculating where he was, without adjusting my path around another person's presence. I took his coffee cup out of the cabinet. He had had his own cup by the end. A blue one he had brought from somewhere. I stood at the kitchen counter holding it. It was a perfectly ordinary cup. Nothing wrong with it. I put it in a bag by the door. I did not throw it away. I just did not want it in my cabinet. Then I washed the cabinet shelf where it had been sitting. I do not know why I did that. I just did. I stood in the living room for a while. His chair was still there. It was my chair. Had always been my chair, but it had been his for 3 years in every way that mattered. I moved it not far, just a few feet to the left, back to where I used to keep it. That took 30 seconds. I went to the bathroom. His things were gone. He had taken everything. But the counter felt wrong, too empty in the places where his things had been. I put my own things out, spread them across the counter the way I used to when it was just me. By mid-afternoon, I was sitting in the living room in the quiet, real quiet, the kind that does not have a person in it. I sat there and I did not do anything. I did not read. I did not turn anything on. I just sat in my house in the middle of a Thursday afternoon and listened to what it sounded like. It sounded like mine. That evening I made coffee. I walked to the kitchen window. The light was doing that thing it does in late winter, low and sideways, coming across the water at an angle that makes everything look like it is about to mean something. I stood there. I did not time it. I did not think about timing it. I stayed until I was ready to go, and then I stayed a little longer than that. Nobody came downstairs. Nobody turned on the television. Nobody sat at my table and waited. The vapor was doing its thing off the water, those slow curls lifting off the surface in the cold, the whole thing breathing, enormous and unbothered. I watched it until the light changed. Then I made a second cup and I watched it some more.